Elena Vance adjusted her magnetic boots as the structural integrity alarms blared inside her salvage cutter, the Rust Bucket. Deep within the hazardous Kuiper-style asteroid field of Sector 9, she wasn't looking for trouble. She was looking for rare hyper-alloy scrap to pay off her dock fees. Humanity's place in the Citadel's grand hierarchy was at the very bottom, relegated to dangerous salvage operations and physical labor that other species deemed too degrading or hazardous. Suddenly, a blinding flare of crimson plasma cut through the dark, signaling a violent atmospheric entry on a nearby unstable moon. A sleek, unregistered escape pod slammed into the icy regolith below, venting high-pressure coolant into the vacuum. Elena didn't hesitate. Driven by a mix of human curiosity and a stubborn refusal to leave a living soul in distress, she piloted her shuttle down through the turbulent atmosphere. Trapped inside the scorched pod was an alien male with striking bioluminescent skin markings, bleeding heavily from a chest wound. Despite the crushing gravity of the moon and the toxic ambient gases leaking into the cabin, Elena dragged the unconscious survivor onto her ship using sheer physical endurance that left the alien gasping in disbelief when he momentarily regained consciousness. Back aboard the Rust Bucket, Elena patched the alien's wounds using standard medical gel and improvised human tools. When he fully awoke, he introduced himself with a soft, melodic voice as Kael, claiming to be a low-level scribe fleeing a bloody political purge within his home system. Kael watched in quiet fascination as this, primitive, human-calibrated heavy machinery with her bare hands, completely unfazed by the life-threatening environment they were navigating. Elena offered him half her rations, unaware that the galactic authorities had already locked down the entire sector to hunt the fragile scribe resting in her bunk. News of the crash spread through the sector's subspace frequencies like wildfire. Commander Vane, the brutal leader of the Apex Hegemony's elite vanguard, issued an emergency quadrant-wide mandate, placing an unprecedented bounty on Kael's head. The public broadcast labeled the young alien as a high-tier traitor who had stolen the Hegemony's core military power source during an inter-court coup. Elena listened to the broadcast while repairing her ship's damaged sublight drive, glancing back at Kael, who seemed far too gentle to be an interstellar terrorist. Kael offered to surrender himself to the nearest Hegemony outpost, insisting that he could not allow a human to suffer the wrath of Commander Vane's dreadnoughts. Elena scoffed at the idea, slamming her wrench onto the workbench and reminding him that humans don't trade their friends for personal safety. She mapped out a treacherous flight path through the Veil Nebula, a dense cosmic dust cloud that rendered most advanced tracking systems useless. Kael was mesmerized by her fierce loyalty, a trait rarely seen in the hyper-transactional societies of the Citadel. As they plunged into the swirling ionized gas of the nebula, Kael began to observe human behavior up close. He watched how Elena adapted to unexpected equipment failures, using duct tape, thermal wire, and brute force to keep her vessel flying where high-tech systems failed. Slowly, the quiet alien scribe began to share stories of his homeland, forming a deep bond with the human mechanic who risked everything to protect a complete stranger. Docking at a lawless outer rim trading post known as the Rust Citadel, Elena sought to trade salvaged tech for long-range jump fuel. The station was filled with ruthless mercenaries, bounty hunters, and underworld brokers, all scouring the sector for any sign of the Imperial escape pod. Elena kept Kael hidden beneath a heavy mechanic's poncho, guiding him through the crowded, smoke-filled corridors with practiced ease. Her heightened human reflexes and spatial awareness kept them 3 steps ahead of the station's suspicious guards. While securing the fuel, Elena caught an alien mercenary attempting to betray their location to an Apex informant. Before the mercenary could sound the alarm, Elena used her superior physical density and combat instincts to neutralize the threat in a swift, silent confrontation. Kael watched in awe as she handled the dangerous situation without losing her composure, realizing that humanity's physiological strength was drastically underestimated by the rest of the galaxy. With the fuel secured, they barely escaped back to the Rust Bucket as Hegemony scout drones began scanning the station's docking bays. Kael admitted that his presence put her in more danger than she could possibly imagine, but Elena simply cracked a joke about her terrible luck and set their course deeper into uncharted space. Their mutual trust grew stronger, laying the foundation for a partnership that would soon challenge the galactic order. Commander Vane's flagship, the Iron Sovereign, intercepted the Rust Bucket's warp trail just as they cleared the station's perimeter. Massive tractor beams locked onto the smaller salvage vessel, dragging it slowly toward the looming warship's bay doors. Realizing that conventional escape was impossible, Elena executed a dangerous manual override of her ship's thrusters, dumping hot plasma directly into the tractor beam's emitter array. The resulting explosion severed the lock, freeing their ship at the cost of crippling their main engines. With their sub-light systems damaged, Elena guided the drifting ship into a nearby graveyard of ancient, derelict warships dating back to the galaxy's forgotten era. The massive, silent hulks provided perfect cover, blocking the Iron Sovereign's targeting sensors. As they hid in the dark interior of a giant ancient vessel, Kael revealed a small, intricate glowing crest embedded beneath the skin of his wrist, the true mark of the royal crown prince. He confessed that he wasn't a scribe, but the last remaining heir to the ancient throne, fleeing Vane's military junta. Elena processed the shock with a simple nod, focusing instead on repairing their life support systems before the freezing cold of space seeped into the cabin. Her calm resilience in the face of political chaos further cemented Kael's admiration for her species' indestructible spirit. While searching the derelict warship for spare parts, Elena noticed something strange about the ancient technology surrounding them. The control panels and biometric interfaces responded strangely to her touch, humming with active power whenever her hands brushed against the dusty consoles. Kael noticed this phenomenon too, watching in growing confusion as systems that had been dormant for 10,000 years flickered back to life in her presence. Elena managed to salvage a high-capacity power cell from the ancient vessel, adapting it to work with her ship's custom propulsion system using human ingenuity. As she worked, Kael explained the legend of the Architects, an ancient, forgotten species that built the galaxy's ultimate defense grid before mysteriously vanishing from historical records. According to legend, only the royal bloodline possessed the key to controlling this ancient power. With the new power cell installed, the Rust Bucket's engines roared back to life with far greater power than ever before. Elena piloted the ship out of the derelict hull just as Vane's search parties entered the graveyard. The unexpected boost in speed allowed them to outmaneuver the Hegemony fighters, shooting out into deep space toward the galaxy's central core. Seeking a permanent refuge, Elena steered the ship toward an abandoned orbital relay station sitting on the edge of the galactic rim. The station was a massive, decaying ring of metal that had been out of service for centuries, providing a perfect place to make repairs and hide. However, upon arrival, they discovered that Commander Vane had anticipated their flight path and set a massive blockade around the perimeter. Before they could turn back, a heavy interdiction field trapped the Rust Bucket in orbit, pulling them toward the station's central docking bay. Realizing they were cornered, Elena began preparing the station's narrow corridors for an asymmetric defensive battle. She used spare mining explosives, high-pressure steam pipes, and raw industrial equipment to transform the abandoned station into a deadly labyrinth for the incoming Hegemony strike teams. Kael insisted on fighting alongside her, using his knowledge of Hegemony tactics to help construct the defenses. As the first boarding pods docked with the station, Elena showed the elite alien soldiers what human grit looked like, using guerrilla warfare to single-handedly hold off entire squads of heavily armored troops. The corridors of the station echoed with the sound of gunfire and exploding steam traps as Elena led the defense. Utilizing the station's artificial gravity controls, she disoriented the invading forces, flipping gravity vectors to send armored guards falling into empty elevator shafts. Kael provided tactical support from the control room, monitoring squad movements and guiding Elena through the station's dark corridors. Despite their success in repelling the initial waves, the sheer number of Hegemony soldiers began to wear down their defenses. Elena sustained several minor injuries, but her human adrenaline kicked in, allowing her to keep fighting long after an alien would have collapsed from exhaustion. Her relentless determination terrified the Hegemony troops, who began broadcasting panicked reports about an unbeatable human monster holding the station. Commander Vane, furious at the delay and embarrassed by his soldiers' failure, decided to lead the final assault himself. Accompanied by his personal honor guard, Vane breached the station's central command bridge, cutting off Elena and Kael's only route of escape. Commander Vane stepped onto the bridge, his massive armored form towering over Elena and Kael. He held a high-powered plasma rifle trained on Elena, demanding that Prince Kael step forward and surrender his genetic key to complete the Hegemony's takeover of the galaxy. Vane sneered at Elena, calling her a worthless barbarian who had meddled in matters far beyond her primitive species' comprehension. Kael stepped between Vane and Elena, offering his life in exchange for her safety, but Vane laughed, stating that no witnesses would leave the station alive. Vane revealed the truth to Elena. Kael wasn't carrying a physical weapon or a stolen power source. His royal bloodline carried a living genetic key designed to activate the ancient galactic defense grid, an automated system capable of wiping out entire fleets in seconds. Elena, bleeding but unbowed, stood beside Kael and refused to back down. She unlocked the station's main central console, intending to overload the reactor and take Vane down with them. But as her bare hand slammed onto the central interface beside Kael's glowing hand, the entire station suddenly lit up with brilliant golden light. The station's automated systems didn't overload. Instead, ancient holographic displays materialized around the bridge, displaying language patterns that were startlingly familiar to human script. The ancient defense grid didn't just recognize Kael's royal bloodline, it recognized Elena's DNA as the primary administrative authority. The ancient architects, who had built the entire galactic infrastructure 10,000 years ago, were not an extinct alien race, but humanity's distant ancestors who had been stranded on Earth after a cosmic catastrophe. For thousands of years, the royal alien bloodline had acted as the secondary key, but the system could never fully activate without the biometric signature of an actual architect. Unknowingly, every time Elena had operated the ancient controls alongside Kael, her human DNA had been completing the long-lost activation sequence. The galactic hierarchy had treated humanity as primitive scavengers, entirely unaware that humans held the master key to the universe. Commander Vane watched in absolute horror as the ancient defense grid awakened fully, instantly taking remote control of every Hegemony warship in the sector and disarming their weapons systems. Elena looked at her hands, then at Kael, as the full weight of her species' forgotten legacy reshaped her understanding of the universe. With the ancient defense grid fully online under Elena and Kael's joint command, the Hegemony's fleet was disarmed without a single further life lost. Commander Vane was taken into custody by automated defense drones, leaving the Hegemony's military power shattered across the quadrant. News of the sudden activation and the revelation of humanity's true origin spread across the Citadel within hours, fundamentally altering the galactic power dynamic forever. Humanity was no longer viewed as a low-tier workforce of scavengers, but as the rightful guardians of the galaxy's ancient technology. Prince Kael reclaimed his rightful place as leader of his people, forming a permanent council with humanity to ensure peace and equity across all sectors. Standing together on the balcony of the Citadel's central spire, Elena and Kael looked out over a newly united galaxy. Yet, as the ancient system scanned deep space, a distant warning light flashed on Elena's console, a signal indicating an approaching threat from beyond the known galaxy. Elena smiled, adjusting her mechanic's gloves, knowing that with human endurance and royal unity, they were ready for whatever came next. If you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe my channel.